It was supposed to be a lighthearted interview, a charming A-list actress, a seasoned late-night host, but within minutes of walking on stage, Emily Blunt's poised smile began to falter, and by the end of the segment, the audience sat frozen, in stunned silence. Moments before the cameras cut. Was it a meltdown, a power move, or something far more calculated? The crowd thought they were watching comedy. Instead, they witnessed a confrontation so raw, so unexpected, that it left even the production crew scrambling behind the scenes. Emily Blunt, Hollywood's quietly fierce force, didn't just clash with Jimmy Kimmel. She exploded, and what started as a subtle tension turned into a full-on implosion, ending with Emily being removed from the show. Yes, removed. Eyewitnesses say Kimmel's expression dropped the moment she called him out. The producers cut to commercial early. The segment was later wiped from official channels, but in the hours that followed, Twitter ignited. Selena Gomez posted a cryptic message. John Krasinski unfollowed 3 late-night accounts, and a video leak quickly taken down showed the unedited chaos the public was never meant to see. So the question remains, was this a personal rupture, a career-ending feud, or a masterfully staged stunt meant to send a message through late-night Hollywood? Because whatever happened that night, it wasn't just an awkward moment, it was war. It all started with a smile, the kind that hides everything. Emily Blunt stepped onto the Jimmy Kimmel live stage in a stunning black dress, radiating confidence. The audience roared. The applause was deafening. But beneath that polished grace, something was brewing. This wasn't just another press run. Emily had been making waves for weeks. Behind closed doors, whispers echoed through studio lots of exhaustion, of pressure, of silent tension between her and the late-night circuit. Her recent interviews had been clipped, sharp, as if every question was a landmine. And Jimmy, he wasn't just any host. Known for walking the tightrope between sarcasm and confrontation, he'd pushed stars before, but not like this. Not someone like her. Not someone carrying that much unspoken weight. Behind the scenes, producers were already on edge. There had been adjustments to the segment topics Emily refused to discuss. Boundaries set, clearly, yet somehow, even before cameras rolled, Kimmel was seen pacing. Something was off. This wasn't their first encounter, but this time felt different. It wasn't friendly, it wasn't playful. It was cold, like 2 actors on opposite sides of a script no one else could read. And as the stage lights dimmed for the intro, no one, not the crew, not the audience, not even Jimmy himself, knew the ticking time bomb that was about to explode. That it began, innocently enough, the usual banter, late-night charm, a few laughs to warm the room. But then Jimmy asked that question. A remark about Emily's recent project, seemingly harmless but laced with undertones she didn't appreciate. Her smile didn't fade immediately. It cracked slowly, her eyes narrowed, her fingers tensed on the armrest. "What do you mean by that?" she asked, her voice calm, too calm. Jimmy chuckled, trying to play it off. "Oh, come on, I'm just teasing," he said, glancing toward the audience for validation. A few laughed. Most didn't. Emily leaned forward. "You're always just teasing, aren't you?" There was steel in her voice now. A sudden shift. The room tensed. For a moment, Jimmy looked caught, exposed under the very spotlight he'd mastered for years. The audience wasn't sure whether to laugh or hold their breath. Cameras kept rolling, then came the silence. That uncomfortable, extended beat where neither spoke. And in that silence, the energy shifted completely. Something had been triggered, not by the words themselves, but by what they represented. The history, the expectation, the dismissal. This wasn't just about a joke anymore. This was personal. What happened next didn't feel like television. It felt like watching something private, something we weren't supposed to see. Emily sat upright, her voice sharper now. "You think you can keep doing this to women who come on your show?" she said, loud enough for the audience to hear, but steady, controlled. Her British composure met with unshakable defiance. Jimmy tried to deflect a nervous smile. A sip of water, a joke that didn't land. "Come on, Emily, don't do this here," he muttered, almost under his breath, but it was too late. The air had gone cold. The audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. A few clapped, not sure if it was the right moment. Others watched, in complete stillness, eyes wide, phones already slipping out of pockets. They knew they were witnessing a crack in the polished surface of celebrity culture. Emily didn't yell. She didn't storm. She dismantled. Line by line. She challenged the way women are framed in interviews, how accomplishments are reduced to gossip, how years of craft are ignored for viral clips. Jimmy tried to interrupt. "This is just what we do here." "No," she snapped, for the first time cutting him off. "That's what you do. and we're tired of pretending it's okay. The crew began moving. A producer signaled from the wings. A floor manager whispered to the cameraman. Then abruptly the screen cut to black. Commercial. But the damage had already been done, and the fallout was only beginning. When the show returned from commercial, Emily Blunt was gone. No explanation, no farewell. Just Jimmy, alone at the desk, visibly rattled, trying to laugh it off, but his usual rhythm was gone. The charm had cracked. He mumbled something about technical issues, then moved to the next guest. But the audience knew, everyone watching knew, something had detonated on that stage. Behind the scenes, whispers flew. Emily had left the studio immediately, flanked by her publicist and 2 security staff. No eye contact, no backstage banter, just silence and a slammed dressing room door. By the time the segment aired on the West Coast, edits had been made, her responses trimmed. The confrontation softened, but it was too late. Someone had leaked the raw footage. A 3-minute clip surfaced online, shaky, watermarked and devastatingly real. Within hours, it was everywhere. TikTok, Reddit, Twitter, millions of views, millions of opinions. Emily Blunt destroys Jimmy Kimmel on live TV. Was she set up? Late night is finally being held accountable. And then came the celebrities. Viola Davis reposted the clip with a single word: respect. Sarah Paulson commented, about time. Even Chris Evans liked a fan tweet calling the moment iconic. Jimmy remained silent. ABC issued no statement, but Hollywood had already picked sides. This wasn't just a viral moment, it was a reckoning. The media storm was relentless. Within 24 hours, every major outlet ran the story. TMZ speculated about long-standing tension between Emily and the show. Variety hinted at unspoken friction between Kimmel and certain female guests. Rolling Stone called it the late-night fracture Hollywood didn't see coming. Talk shows debated it, podcasts analyzed it frame by frame. Some painted Emily as unprofessional, too reactive. Others hailed her as a necessary disruptor, someone finally willing to say what so many had swallowed for years. And then came the fan split. Hashtags erupted. Team Emily Kimmel exposed. She walked so there's Kudrone petition circulated demanding Jimmy issue a formal apology. Meanwhile, another group insisted Emily had overreacted and disrespected the format. The internet, as always, turned debate into battlefield. But behind the noise, real conversations began. Women in the industry, producers, actresses, even publicists, started sharing their own stories. Times they were laughed off, interrupted, talked down to, all under the glare of polite studio lights and laughter signs. It wasn't just about Emily anymore, that was about the system. And in the center of it all stood one moment, a single confrontation on a late-night couch that had exposed something deeper, something no edit could hide. And while the public debated and headlines surged, inside the industry, the ripple effects were already taking shape. Rumors swirled that several high-profile actresses quietly declined upcoming late-night bookings. One insider claimed a major streaming platform paused a promotional tour, citing guest safety concerns. Emily's team, tight-lipped but calculated, began turning down interview requests, not out of fear but power. She didn't disappear. She repositioned. Executives at ABC reportedly held emergency meetings with Kimmel's producers. Behind closed doors, pressure mounted from advertisers, from studio partners, even from rival networks ready to pounce. Then came the real hit. Emily Blunt was nominated for a major award and she skipped the press junket completely. Talk shows, no red carpets. Just a carefully released statement. I stand by every word I said. In the days that followed, unconfirmed reports suggested tension between Kimmel and his production team. 2 senior writers allegedly walked off set. A guest appearance by another female Alistair was mysteriously rescheduled. This wasn't just fallout. It was a shift in gravity. The late-night machine, so long immune to consequence, had finally been jolted, and it was clear the rules were changing, because after that night, no one could pretend anymore. 2 weeks later, the silence finally broke. Jimmy Kimmel addressed the incident in a clipped, carefully worded monologue. Things got a little intense, he said, trying to laugh. But the crowd didn't respond the way they usually did. The timing was off. The charm dulled. He didn't apologize, not directly. Instead, he danced around it, framed it as a misunderstanding, a difference in tone. But everyone watching knew the damage couldn't be spun. Not this time. And Emily. She moved forward, unshaken. Her next public appearance was at a charity gala in London. No press, no interviews, just a single photo, her standing confidently on stage, smiling, composed, unbothered, empowered. Meanwhile, the industry kept watching. A quiet blacklist of late-night shows began circulating among Alistair's teams. Publicists became stricter, interview conditions tighter. A format once seen as harmless entertainment was now a negotiation, and through it all, fans waited not for an apology, but for a reckoning. Would Emily return to late night? Would Jimmy recover? Would anyone, ever again, feel safe pretending? Behind the laughs, because that night didn't just change a show, it shifted the spotlight, exposing what was always there, hidden beneath the applause. And while the cameras have long since stopped rolling, the aftershocks are still being felt. No lawsuits were filed. No official sanctions were made. But something deeper happened, something that doesn't show up in press releases or social media trends. A line had been drawn. Emily Blunt's name, once synonymous with elegance and control, now carried something sharper: defiance. Not recklessness, not rage, but intent, precision. She hadn't walked off that set in a storm of emotion. She had stood her ground, live, unfiltered, and unafraid. And for those watching, especially women in the industry, it wasn't just empowering. It was revolutionary. Jimmy Kimmel, meanwhile, carried on, new guests, new monologues, but the shadow of that night lingered. Every question he asked now felt calculated, every laugh slightly forced, as if the rules had changed, and he knew it. The Emily incident, as insiders called it, became a warning and a lesson for hosts, for networks, for anyone who ever thought the stage was theirs to control. There's talk of reconciliation, a possible future appearance, rumors of a private phone call, but whether or not that ever happens is beside the point, because the moment Emily Blunt stood her ground, calmly, clearly, powerfully, she didn't just end a segment, she started a conversation, one that's still echoing through studios, boardrooms, and dressing rooms across Hollywood. And now, everyone is listening. That as the dust settles, one truth remains undeniable. This was never just about one heated exchange on a late-night show. It was about the invisible battles fought every day behind the glitz and glam. The silent struggles of women refusing to be minimized, dismissed, or silenced. Emily Blunt's stand shattered a veneer long thought untouchable. Her courage sparked a movement, quiet yet relentless, demanding respect and fairness in an industry built on illusion. Now, with cameras off and spotlights dimmed, the real story unfolds. A reckoning with power, with privilege, and with the cost of speaking truth to fame. And while the world watches and waits for the next chapter, one thing is clear: some moments change everything. Because sometimes, the most powerful act is simply refusing to walk away. This isn't the end of the story, it's just the beginning. Emily Blunt's unexpected walk-off was a crack in the carefully constructed facade of late-night television. A crack that quickly turned into a fissure, threatening to reshape the very foundation of celebrity interviews. The industry is watching, executives weighing their next moves, hosts reconsidering their approach, and audiences demanding authenticity over scripted smiles. For Emily, the choice was clear: stay silent and play the part, or speak out and risk everything. She chose the latter, and in doing so, she gave a voice to countless others who have been overlooked, interrupted, or undermined. Now, as the spotlight shifts, the question remains: what comes next? Will late-night shows evolve? Will hosts learn to listen, or will history repeat itself behind closed doors? One thing is certain: nothing will ever look the same again. Because sometimes, it takes one moment of courage on a stage to ignite an entire revolution. The story of that night will be told for years to come, not just as a scandal, but as a turning point. Emily Blunt didn't just challenge a host, she challenged an entire system built on silence and smiles, and the ripples of her defiance continue to spread, reshaping power dynamics in Hollywood, inspiring conversations in boardrooms, and empowering voices long muffled. Late-night television may never recover the way it was before. It's been forever altered by a moment of truth broadcast live to millions. So the next time a celebrity sits on that couch, the stakes will be higher, the questions sharper, the audience more aware. Because thanks to Emily Blunt, no one can pretend anymore. And sometimes, that's exactly what it takes to change the game. The curtain has fallen on old ways. A new era has begun. As the final curtain falls on this chapter, one undeniable truth remains: courage changes everything. Emily Blunt's stand wasn't just a moment of rebellion, it was a beacon for those tired of silence. In an industry built on image and control, she dared to disrupt the script, the conversation, she ignited continues to echo, challenging the status quo and demanding accountability. And while the cameras may have stopped rolling that night, the real story is far from over. Because sometimes, the most powerful act isn't walking off stage, it's standing your ground, no matter the cost. And that is the legacy Emily Blunt has left behind. There's no rewind button on moments like these. Once the truth is spoken and the spotlight shifts, everything changes. Emily Blunt's confrontation was more than a clash on a stage. It was a seismic shift in Hollywood's culture, a reminder that behind the glamour, real people demand respect. And as late-night shows scrambled to adapt, the industry stands at a crossroads. Will they choose to listen, to learn, and to evolve? Or will history repeat itself, buried beneath rehearsed smiles and scripted apologies? One thing is certain, the impact of that night will be felt for years to come, because sometimes, breaking the silence is the first step toward real change. And so, the story of Emily Blunt's explosive moment on Jimmy Kimmel Live serves as a powerful reminder. In a world obsessed with appearances, authenticity demands courage. It's a story about the cost of speaking truth in the face of power, about the strength it takes to challenge systems that have long been accepted as unchangeable. For fans, for artists, for everyone watching behind the screens, it's a call to question, to demand better, and to refuse silence. That the entertainment world will never forget that night, because it wasn't just a fallout. It was a reckoning. And in the end, that's the story that truly matters. This moment will be dissected, debated, and remembered not as a scandal, but as a catalyst for change in the shadows of Hollywood's glittering facade. Emily Blunt's defiance exposed vulnerabilities few dared to acknowledge. Her courage inspired a generation to speak up, to stand firm, and to demand respect. And while the late-night stage remains, its power dynamics are no longer unchallenged, because, sometimes, one act of bravery is enough to rewrite the rules. And that night, Emily Blunt did just that.